are the hour's top stories. President Bush, who's been holding out hope for a U.S.-Soviet arms treaty and a summit this summer, now appears to be downplaying expectations. Mr. Bush says the U.S. has given and given, and now it's time for Moscow to make some concessions. Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley is repeating his call for Police Chief Daryl Gates to resign. Bradley's endorsing a commission's finding that Gates should step down in the wake of the videotaped beating of a black motorist. It's still not known what caused the explosion that rocked a pipeline near Brule, Wisconsin, killing 3 workers and injuring 5 others Tuesday. And in sports, the American League has won its 4th straight All-Star game. In Toronto last night, Baltimore's Cal Ripken provided the big bat, hitting a 3-run homer to lead the AL over the NL by a 4-2 score. And those are the top stories.
If you're one of over 40 million Americans denied credit each year, First National Bank of Marin can get you your own Visa or MasterCard right now.
$10 per call. You must be 18.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lisa Gephardt. He may have escaped the wrath of the world, but Saddam Hussein's own people may bring him down. There are reports this morning that the man known as the Butcher of Baghdad has narrowly escaped an assassination attempt. The story comes from a Shiite opposition group. The group says Saddam's motorcade was ambushed during a visit to the city of Karbala, about 60 miles south of Baghdad. 3 members of Saddam's entourage reportedly were killed, several others wounded. Now, there's no way to confirm the report, which comes from one of the groups that rose up against Saddam after the Gulf War. Meantime, the U.S. is again accusing Saddam of lying about his country's nuclear capabilities. Iraq has admitted it has a nuclear weapons program, but only after the U.S. threatened military action after international inspectors were stopped from visiting suspected nuclear sites. The State Department says Iraq has more than it's letting on, including enough uranium to produce an atomic bomb. Nuclear weapons are also the sticking point holding up a U.S.-Soviet superpower summit. And now President Bush is downplaying the chances a compromise will be reached this week on strategic arms reductions, also known as START. Speaking to reporters in Toronto last night, the president said it's up to the Soviets to make some concessions when Foreign Minister Besmirtnik sits down with Secretary of State Baker in Washington Thursday.
I think we've given and given, and I hope the Soviets understand that. And we've got to get in a deal that can, not only are we enthusiastic about, but the one that can get through the Congress.
President Bush is also hinting he's on the verge of telling Congress that sanctions against South Africa will be lifted. The State Department says the racially torn country has met the conditions for the repeal of those sanctions. Mr. Bush predicted the lifting of sanctions would benefit South Africa's economy, but the NAACP says it will slow political reform in that country. Mr. Bush was in Toronto to meet with Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, but the White House didn't even try to hide the fact that baseball was the trip's prime motivation. After their joint news conference, Mr. Bush and Mr. Mulroney watched part of Major League Baseball's All-Star game. The American League defeated the National League 4-2. President Bush's Supreme Court nominee is finally talking. Clarence Thomas still isn't revealing his views on controversial issues, but he does have some nice things to say about the man he might replace and some of his detractors. Here's Steve Katz.
Clarence Thomas was on Capitol Hill for a second day, getting a warm welcome from conservatives.
The only thing I want to do is just give you a copy of the Constitution and follow that, and that's all I would ask you to do.
Thank you, Senator. This is my old copy.
You already had one.
He also sought to answer liberal critics who accuse him of abandoning the civil rights movement.
I benefited greatly from the civil rights movement, from the justice whom I'm nominated to succeed behind organizations such as the Urban League, the NAACP.
But as he gets acquainted with the senators who will judge him, Judge Thomas clearly has some convincing to do. The Senate's top Democrat charges Thomas is benefiting from the kind of unfair advantage the president claims to oppose for minorities.
It is now obvious that he's against quotas for everyone but himself at all positions but the Supreme Court.
That brought a sharp response from the GOP's leader.
Unfortunately, Mr. Thomas, Mr. President, some of the politically correct litmus testers here in Washington want to deny the fulfillment of Clarence Thomas's all-American dream. Not because he lacks the talent or the drive, but because he is a successful black man who also happens to be a Republican and a conservative.
Meanwhile, the NAACP, which Thomas says helped him get where he is holding off a decision on whether to support him. The group says it wants to study Thomas's civil rights record more closely. The confirmation hearing isn't expected until after Labor Day. Liberals promise some tough questioning, not about Thomas's race, but about his views on such issues as abortion. Conservatives expect Clarence Thomas to be confirmed with little trouble. Steve Katz, Washington.
3 construction workers are dead after an explosion rocked the site of a natural gas pipeline in northern Wisconsin. The crew was using dynamite to blast a trench for the new line when the explosives were accidentally detonated. Witnesses say the workers had been blasting for about a week without any problems.
All of us out here connected with the project just feel very badly about the injuries and the loss of life. It's normally a safe working environment, and you just don't expect these things to happen.
Investigators are working to determine what set off the blast. Company officials say dynamite is commonly used in pipeline construction to cut through rock. In Denver, a retired police sergeant has been officially charged with the murders of 4 bank guards during a robbery last month. 54-year-old James King faces a total of 15 charges, including 4 counts of first-degree murder. Steve Daniels reports from Denver.
James King is facing a total of 15 charges, 4 charges of first-degree murder after deliberation, 4 counts of first-degree felony murder, 1 count of aggravated robbery, and 6 counts of felony menacing. District Attorney Norm Early says the indictment reflects evidence that he believes has a reasonable likelihood of conviction.
If there's a reasonable likelihood of conviction to a jury of 12 beyond a reasonable doubt, then we file. I analyze the evidence and I make a decision whether I believe there's a reasonable likelihood of convincing a jury of 12.
King's attorney, Walter Garash, stopped by the DA's office to get a close look at the charges.
It looks like overkill to me. He says he has a case, and that's his burden. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to say boo.
The indictment lists 25 witnesses, people who may testify when the case goes to trial. The list includes 2 workers at Stapleton Airport. They're workers who say they believe King was trying to get out of town the day of the United Bank massacre.
From the start, police believed the killer had inside knowledge of the bank because he was able to slip through an elaborate security system. As it turns out, King had worked as a part-time security guard at the bank for about a year. King will be arraigned today or tomorrow. In the meantime, he's being held without bond. And in Los Angeles, more fallout from that report on police brutality. L.A. Mayor Tom Bradley is repeating his call for Daryl Gates to resign as chief of police. At a news conference Tuesday, Bradley called for a nationwide search for Gates' successor. He's endorsing a commission's finding that Gates should step down in the wake of the videotaped beating of a black motorist. And here are some of the other stories we're watching as they make news across America this morning. Federal officials say Los Angeles is the target of a $2 million a year counterfeiting trade, the largest in the nation and one that's still growing. Investigators say immigrants from Mexico and Asia are easy marks for counterfeiters. It's definitely not business as usual in Hawaii, where everyone from traffic cops to school teachers are gearing up for Thursday's solar eclipse. Public school classes on the Big Island have been canceled because the eclipse there will be total, and officials expect major traffic jams caused by all of the visitors. And experts say killer bees from Mexico are threatening about $480 million worth of crops in Texas. Beekeepers say the Africanized honeybees are more aggressive and are a threat to more docile bees that pollinate the crops. The Texas Honeybee Association is seeking more state money to fight the migration of the killer bees. 2 stories this morning on the ongoing abortion controversy. First, Los Angeles County supervisors have endorsed a bill in Congress that allows imports of the French abortion pill known as RU-486. The Food and Drug Administration has banned imports of that pill since 1986, but Congress is considering changing that. And the Bush administration is reviewing regulations that ban abortion counseling at federally funded clinics. White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater says President Bush still supports the rules, but has ordered the review in light of a move in Congress to overturn them. Mr. Bush has told congressional leaders he'd veto any legislation that weakens the current regulations. In Minnesota Tuesday, Planned Parenthood held a rally to let lawmakers know the Family Planning Service wants those rules overturned. Carolyn Bruchter with that story.
They came from more than 20 different organizations: Unitarians, Minnesota Civil Liberties Union, Seniors for Choice, and religious groups.
The position of the YWCA is not pro-abortion. It is a position in line with our mission to empower women and girls.
The Supreme Court ruling will not allow clinics that receive federal funding to mention abortion as a family planning option. That's something that the Minnesota Nurses Association opposes.
M&A believes that the healthcare client has the right to privacy and the right to make decisions about personal health care based on full information and without coercion.
Critics of the so-called gag rule say it will especially affect poor women.
This is not about abortion. It's about doing the right thing for women.
But Nancy Koster of Minnesota Citizens Concerned for Life says the groups are using blackmail and scare tactics.
By saying that people will go without services because they're going to close their clinics, that's a choice they're making. They're choosing to put abortion above family planning.
Unless Congress overturns the ruling, it could take effect within the next 5 to 6 weeks. I'm Carolyn Bruchter reporting.
There's a showdown on a crime bill slated for the Senate floor this afternoon. That's when lawmakers will vote on whether to limit debate on the $3.3 billion measure, a measure the National Rifle Association opposes. And a House subcommittee will hold a hearing today into the cause of more than 10 million phone outages over the past 2 weeks. Computer glitches appear to be the problem. The massive outages affected customers in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. It's now coming up at about 43 past the hour. Time now to get our first look at today's weather.
Africa. You have a front row seat. See a world which can often turn the hunter into the hunted. Presented for the first time on videotape, international award-winning cameraman John Barty captures the mystery and magic of Africa. This award-winning African wildlife video collection has already attracted wide interest from conservationists and nature lovers worldwide. Start your wildlife library now with the special limited-time offer. Buy 2 films and save. 1. The Crossover, real life in the wilds of Africa seen through the eyes of Shangaan hunters. Close encounters between man and Africa's major predators, the lion, the leopard, and the cheetah. 2. The Silent Hunter, 5 years in the making. John and tracker Elman Mlongo observe up close one of Africa's most elusive predators, the leopard. Buy these 2 one-hour films at a very special price, only $29.95 for both. They make a great gift. Call the number on your screen today.
Have you been laid off from your job or a victim of budget cuts? Are your bills piling up and you need a way to pay them off fast? Are you constantly overdrawn? Or has your credit been declined? Are you a victim of bad credit or bankruptcy? Have you been rejected for a loan? Have you been told by your bank that your loan request has been rejected because of bad credit, no credit history, or bankruptcy? Then stop this rejection and stop it now. Call the loan phone at 1-900-740-0440. The loan phone will change your life and financial future. We've helped thousands of people just like you get a loan, whatever the circumstances. Imagine lenders are just a phone call away. Get the loan approval and loan advice today for all your needs. Call 1-900-740-0440 and get your life started in the right direction. By calling this number now, you will get vital information including telephone numbers and addresses of companies willing to approve your loan. Call now. The call costs $10 and you must be 18 years or older to receive services. Call now and start enjoying the things that you've worked for. Call the nation's best provider of loans and services. Call the loan phone now.
Turning now to the nation's weather. Expect some rain over much of Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois. Locally, heavy showers and thunderstorms will continue along portions of the Gulf Coast and over the Florida Peninsula and Alabama. Thunderstorms will taper off in the Rocky Mountains and areas along the Pacific Coast. The Northeast will see dry and more pleasant weather. The radar shows some showers from St. Louis to Indianapolis. There are also some showers popping up in central Florida. Highs today will range from nearly 100 in the desert Southwest 90s in Texas and the Deep South to 70s and 80s in the upper Midwest. San Francisco will only see a high of 66. Something kind of nice to show you this morning. A wildlife refuge in Fort Myers has 3 new residents, Siberian tiger triplets. These newborn tiger cubs are only 2 days old. They're warm, tiny, and fuzzy now, but watch out. Someday they'll each weigh nearly 1,000 pounds. After a couple more days, owners will begin hand-feeding the cubs and then take them to schools to help teach children. Now, here's your forecast. In medical news, new alternatives for caring for the elderly. A growing trend in the healthcare industry is a personal care home. It's a place for senior citizens to live when they can't take care of themselves anymore, but they're not yet ready for a nursing home. Jim Swift visits one in Round Rock, Texas.
Normally, this is a quiet street in Round Rock's Chisholm Valley neighborhood. But at the moment, the folks who live in one house here are anything but quiet.
Come on, Alfie, look at Alfie.
5 people, ranging in age from 60 to 93, are doing their morning exercises. They are residents of a personal care home, something that has roots a century old.
The widows had homes, their husbands died, and they needed income, and they couldn't get out and work, so what they did is they brought people in, and it was called room and board then.
Margaret, you munching on that donut?
It's still room and board, but over the years, the emphasis has shifted to providing specialized care for senior citizens, people who, for one reason or another, can't take care of themselves alone, but don't need a nursing home.
Usually people don't come out of nursing homes, so when you go in, what happens is you get very, very depressed because of everything around you, and you start going downhill.
Hey, why don't you just try it one time?
I can't do it. I can't turn loose. I've got to
Here, I help you, and then we'll see if you can win a prize.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Home operator Sharon Scott and her aides stay busy encouraging the residents, challenging them, and just plain entertaining them. Not to mention, loving them.
They keep an eye on your health, your mental health.
What do you mean they keep an eye on your mental health?
Well, they want you if you're depressed or down the dumps. They want to know there's always a cheerful word for you.
You have to tell me how high, Margaret, okay?
Of course, some personal care homes are better than others. Prices vary, and generally you get what you pay for. But for many senior citizens, they're a good way to keep making a little noise in the neighborhood.
Jim Swift reporting from Texas. One more medical note this morning. Makers of silicone breast implants say they've given the government mountains of data to prove their products are safe. Tuesday was the deadline for providing that evidence to the government. The Food and Drug Administration asked for the information after receiving reports of pain, infection, and other problems from women who've received the breast implants. The FDA now has 6 months to decide whether the products can remain on the market. And that's this morning's medical report. We'll be right back.
I'm Julie, an aerobic instructor who's tired of the dating game. I want a meaningful relationship with a guy who feels the same.
If you'd like to meet serious singles, join the National Singles Club, an exclusive network of selective singles looking for something more. Call 1-900-820-3111 for the names and numbers of the kind of singles you want to know. 1-900-820-3111. That's 1-900-820-3111. $3 per minute.
Ladies, have you ever wondered why having wider feet has to be such a wide problem? Or why finding the right style has to be such a feat, but couldn't put your foot on it? Step into Chick-Wide Shoes. Step into style and savings at Chick-Wide Shoes. Hurry in, our semi-annual sale is on right now. Think of it, fashion, comfort, and low, low prices. There's a great selection too, but it won't last long. Chick-Wide Shoes for the world's largest selection of ladies' fashionable wide shoes. Call 1-800-341-2888 for the location nearest you.
Here's Cal Worthington and his dog Spot.
If you're a little short of cash, go see Cal. Trouble's over in a flash, go see Cal.
The down payment he'll arrange. Get a 10-day trial exchange. Go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal.
Hey, you're looking for a really, really nice truck? Well, these look like new trucks. They're not. Boy, they look like new, though. You swear that they are new. They're loaded with equipment, most of them including air conditioning. You get a 10-day trial exchange. They've been completely safety tested. You want a nice truck? Look at this. An 89 Ford Ranger pickup, $49.95. An 85 Ford Bronco 2, a 4x4, $49.95. An 87 Ford Aerostar van, $59.95. An 87 Dodge Ram 150 pickup, $69.95. An 88 Dodge van conversion, $79.95. Now, we carry our own paper. You want low prices and low payments? Come on over to Worthington Ford. Come right down the San Diego Freeway to Bellflower Boulevard. Worthington Ford, open till midnight.
The All-American All-Star game held, of course, north of the border.
Very nice night in Toronto. And Tony La Russa is starting to ring up a record, his third straight, the Oakland A's manager. Skydome record crowd of 52,000, over 52,000, witnessed what may be the beginning of a dynasty for the American League. After losing 26 of 29 to the National League, the AL has now won 5 of 6 and 4 in a row. The National League struck first last night. The top of the first, Bobby Bonilla, hot shot off Jack Morris's foot. Tony Gwynn scores. Morris pitched into the second inning, then went to a local hospital. The x-rays were negative. It was 1-0 National League. Bottom of the third, 2 on for the AL, and Cal Ripken unloads off Dennis Martinez. That one is deep to center. Ripken just having a great year. He was the game's MVP. 12 dingers in the home run derby. You remember on Monday night. Big night last night for Ripken. 3-1 AL. But Andre Dawson came right back in the fourth. Off Roger Clemens, Dawson with a towering blast to center. We'll get the tape out on this one. 434 feet, first NL homer in 7 years. That made it 3-2. History was made in the 6th inning when 43-year-old Carlton Fisk lifted a bloop single into center field. Fisk becomes the oldest player to get a hit in an All-Star game, the record formerly held by Ted Williams at age 41. Pudge in the record books at 43. Another All-Star record, Dennis Eckersley with his third save in an All-Star game. He gets Brett Butler to end it. The American League added one more run, winning their 4th in a row. 4-2, the final from Toronto. A coalition of 4 bowls, 2 conferences, and Notre Dame may be completed this afternoon that could lead to a college football playoff format. The Cotton, Orange, and Sugar Bowls are looking to finalize an agreement with either the Fiesta or the Citrus Bowl. Now, 3 of the 8 teams in those bowls would be conference champions. It's hoped the matchups created could create a playoff. Orlando, Florida police say that former NFL running back Tony Collins attempted suicide on Tuesday morning by driving his car into a lake. Police say that certain things Collins said at the scene led them to believe it was a suicide attempt. After 7 years with the New England Patriots, Collins was banned from the NFL for 2 years for drug abuse. He's currently playing in the Arena Football League. Golden State Warriors president Dan Finane has told the New York Times that they looked at revising Chris Mullin's contract but decided against it in connection with a salary squabble over Knicks center Patrick Ewing. The Knicks are reportedly considering tampering charges against the Warriors if Mullin's contract is higher than Ewing's, pushing the sought-after center out of the top 4 salaries in the league and into restricted free agency. And finally, it's looking more and more like a George Foreman-Evander Holyfield rematch before either fighter takes a crack at Mike Tyson. Promoters Don King and Dan Duva are just getting nowhere with a Holyfield-Tyson fight, so Bob Arum now has jumped in with a tune-up for Foreman in September, then a possible rematch with Holyfield again. It's not set yet, but that looks good right now.
Whoever Foreman wants to fight, let him fight him. He's great to see.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kirk. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Julie, an aerobic instructor who's tired of the dating game. I want a meaningful relationship with a guy who feels the same.
If you'd like to meet serious singles, join the National Singles Club, an exclusive network of selective singles looking for something more. Call 1-900-820-3111 for the names and numbers of the kind of singles you want to know. 1-900-820-3111. That's 1-900-820-3111. $3 per minute.
The Olympic spirit is returning to Los Angeles one more time. 3,000 of America's best athletes for 10 days of competition, 37 sports, from the torch run that will span the state to the closing ceremonies. In 1991, Los Angeles will come together in the Olympic Festival.
There were lots of smiles and applause at SeaWorld of California yesterday. A 5,000-pound killer whale gave birth yesterday afternoon. The baby whale weighs about 300 pounds and is 6 feet long. Experts say both whales are doing just fine. But they say the next couple of days are very important. It's a time when mother and baby bond and the baby begins nursing. 2 pilot whales are free again this morning after spending 3 months at the Miami Sea Aquarium recovering from pneumonia. Yesterday, the whales were carefully loaded into specially designed boxes and taken out into the Atlantic Ocean.
We're giving them back to nature. Nature is beautiful, but it's also can be very cruel. So we're not sure of what's going to happen. But all along, our primary goal in any rehabilitation work here is to release the animals. So we've done all we can do now, and it's up to these whales and nature.
But special radio transmitters have been attached to the whales so researchers can keep track of them. Well, for all the successes in saving animals in trouble, we must sometimes report on the failures as well. The environmental group Greenpeace is warning tourists in Indonesia not to buy souvenirs made from endangered turtles. Greenpeace says thousands of rare green and hawksbill turtles are being killed needlessly. Tom Brown with that story.
Another plane load of tourists fly in for their dream holidays, unaware that their very presence is responsible for the widespread slaughter of rare green and hawksbill turtles. These turtles are going to their deaths. No attempt is made to kill them humanely. They're cut up alive. The increase in tourism can only be bad news for the sea turtles in the region. It's a lucrative trade for the locals. Even turtle eggs are collected for consumption, thus reducing their chances of survival even further. Nothing goes to waste. Besides the meat, there's also the shell, which goes to provide trinkets and souvenirs for tourists. A big Japanese demand for Indonesian hawksbill shell is propping up the export trade, in spite of bans on trading in endangered species. Only when visitors refuse to buy turtle products will the cruel trade stop, and the fast disappearing species have any hope of survival.
That'll do it for us for this half hour. I'm Lisa Gephardt. Thanks for joining us.
We're interested in getting your feedback on our news. To let us know what you think, please send us your suggestions and observations to Executive Producer, All News Channel, 3415 University Avenue, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55414.